This summer is all about fun accessories with a fruity touch. Hey friends, my name is Shaz and today I'll be sharing with you how I made this fun and fruity lime-shaped crochet handbag that is so quick to make. You can also get this as a free pattern on my website, which you can find in the link below. For this pattern, I'm using fabric yarn that has this perfect softness and stretch in the color lime green, dark green, and some white. I'm also using an 8mm crochet hook, some stitch markers, sewing pins, and here I also have a 16-inch white zipper. We'll first work up a magic ring with our white yarn. You'll wrap the yarn around 3 fingers like this, and once more across the first strand. Then you'll insert your hook under the first strand and pull through the second strand in a scoop up motion. Now you'll hold on to that loop that you just made. You'll pick up the working yarn and return the loop back to your non-dominant hand. You'll chain one to secure your loop. Now for the first round, we'll be making 10 half double crochet stitches. So for the first stitch, you'll pull the loop as high as a half double crochet should be. You'll yarn over, insert your hook through the ring, drop a loop, yarn over, and pull through all loops. This is my preferred way to start my first stitch, but you can use whichever way you're used to. Now go ahead and continue working on 10 half double crochet stitches in the round. Working with fabric yarn can be a bit tricky, so you'll have to make sure that the tension is loose when pulling the yarn through. Once you have all 10 stitches made, we'll work a slip stitch into that first stitch to close. Here is my first stitch, and you'll be working with the loop above it, not to be mistaken with the loop before it. For me, I like to work my slip stitch through the back loop of the first stitch to hide the join. So go ahead and work a slip stitch through the back loop. Go ahead and close up that magic ring by pulling on the tail, and then you'll pull your loop as high as a half double crochet should be and work a half double crochet through both loops like this. Next, you'll chain one and work a half double crochet stitch into that next stitch, chain one, and half double crochet the following stitch. Continue working on this pattern of one chain and one half double crochet all the way in the round. Once you've completed all your stitches, you'll find the loop above the first stitch and work a slip stitch through the back loop with the lime green yarn. So before closing up the slip stitch, you'll insert your hook through the back loop, pick up the lime green yarn, and pull through all loops to close up the stitch. And go ahead and snip off the white yarn. To start the next round, you'll pull the ends of the yarn to tighten up the loop, and now with the green yarn as our working yarn, you'll pull the first loop high and work a half double crochet stitch through both loops into that first stitch. For your next stitch, we'll be working an increase into the chain space. So go ahead and work 2 half double crochet stitches into the chain space. Next, you'll work 1 half double crochet on top of the next stitch and an increase stitch of 2 half double crochets into the chain space. So you'll be repeating this 1 half double crochet and 1 increase half double crochet into every stitch in the round. Your last stitch should be an increase stitch into the chain space. Now to close up the round, you'll find the loop above the first stitch and work a slip stitch through the back loop. Now you'll work a half double crochet into that first stitch through both loops. Now for your next stitch, we'll be increasing 1 stitch in every row. For this row, we'll be working 2 half double crochet stitches followed by an increase stitch. We'll work 1 1 2. So we'll work 1 half double crochet, another half double crochet followed by an increase stitch. Continue to work 1 1 2 all the way in the round, and I'll meet you back here once we're done. Once you're on your last stitch, which should be an increase stitch, you'll slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch to join. Now go ahead and work a half double crochet stitch into that first stitch. For the following rounds, you'll be adding one additional stitch count before each increase stitch. For this round, you'll be working 3 half double crochet stitches followed by an increase stitch, and for the next round, you'll be working 4 half double crochet stitches followed by an increase stitch. You'll continue to work 3 more rounds with the same increase sequence, and I'll meet you back here once we're done. Once you've completed all 5 rounds of the green yarn, and on that last stitch, we'll be slip stitching with the white yarn to close up the round. So go ahead and insert your hook through the back loop of that first stitch. You'll grab your white yarn and slip stitch to close. You can go ahead and snip off that green yarn and go straight into working a half double crochet into that first stitch. On this round, we'll be working one more increase round. So we'll be working 6 half double crochet stitches followed by an increase stitch, and we'll do this in the round. Once you've completed each stitch, on your last stitch before closing up that round, we'll be switching to our dark green yarn. So go ahead and insert your hook through the back loop. We'll pick up our dark green yarn. We'll pull through to close up the round. Now go ahead and snip off the white yarn. For this round, we'll be working only through the back loop of each stitch. So for the first stitch, go ahead and pull your yarn as high as a double crochet should be. You'll yarn over, insert your hook only through the back loop. You'll yarn over, insert your hook, drop a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And don't forget to pull the yarn tail to tighten up the loop. For this round, we will not be doing any increases, but only working double crochet stitches through the back loop of each stitch in the round. Once you've worked your way all the way in the round, we'll skip that joining stitch and work a slip stitch into that first stitch through the back loop. And for the next round, we'll be working double crochet stitches through both loops this time into each stitch all the way in the round. Now for the next step, as you can see, this bag is already attached. But don't worry, I'll be showing that to you in a bit. After almost completing the bag, my 6-year-old walks in and makes a comment about how it looked more like a kiwi instead of a lime. So instead, I'll be showing you how to add the lines first before we go on to the next step. So you'll take some white yarn about 2 arms length and thread it through a blunt tapestry needle. And from the back of the bag, you'll insert the needle through the top of the stitch on the second row and you'll pull through. Next, we'll be weaving the needle under and over the following rows in a straight line. So you'll insert your needle over and under the next row and back over until you're at the top of the last green row. And go ahead and pull the yarn through. Next, from the back of the bag, you'll weave your needle through 7 white stitches. So you'll go underneath each stitch all the way across until the 7th stitch. Go ahead and pull through the yarn. And on that last stitch, you'll insert your needle through the bottom of the white stitch row and continue to weave over and under each row while working your way down towards the second row's stitch. Once you've reached the bottom of the stitch, you'll pull the yarn through the back. And from here, you'll just weave in your needle through the green stitch, working your way towards the next white stitch. You'll insert your needle through the next white stitch. And you'll count 7 stitches from that last stitch at the top. This will be the stitch that you'll be working your way up towards. So you'll continue to weave over and under until you've reached the 7th stitch at the top. From here, you'll just continue to work your way across the bag while working on the 7th stitch from the last line at the top and then weaving through each row back down in the round. Once completed, bind off, and this is how the bag should look like. Go ahead and make a second piece, but do not bind off once done. So like I mentioned earlier, I made the lines after attaching the bag. So now let me show you how to attach the two panels together. First, place stitch markers on each side of the panel with the length matching your zipper. Mine is 16 inches in length, so I've placed my stitch marker 16 inches apart. You'll do the same thing on the other panel. Next, you'll place the panels on top of each other, right side up, and the stitch markers align. Now from that last stitch, go ahead and pick up your working yarn. We'll be working only through the back loops of each stitch, so from the stitch marker, you'll insert your hook through the back of both loops. Making sure that your working yarn stays under the loop, and you'll pull a loop through to join. Now from here, we'll be working slip stitches through the back loops of both rows to join. Now these are the 2 stitches that we just joined. We'll insert a hook into the next stitch through the back loop, and on the left side through the back loop, you'll yarn over and pull through all loops. And you should have a slip stitch made. Now let's do that again. You'll insert your hook through the back loop on the right side and the back loop through the left side. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all loops. Now you'll continue to work a slip stitch through the back loop of both pieces all the way across until you've reached the next stitch marker. And once you've reached that next stitch marker, go ahead and chain 1 to secure, but do not bind off just yet. And this is how your bag should look like at the bottom. A nice flat chain connecting both pieces together. Next, we'll be adding the zipper. So go ahead and grab your zipper and place them along the opening sides of the bag, making sure that the stopper is right at the end of the opening, and place sewing pins to attach them together. You'll do this on both sides. Once all sides are pinned, it should fit nicely and it should be secured. Now I'll take a sharp tapestry needle and a thicker thread, pull the thread through, and make a knot at the end. I'll be starting from the back of the bag and I'll insert my needle under the two loops like this. I'll pull my needle through and I'll insert my needle under the next loop back in. Make sure when you put your needle through, it is right underneath the ridges. Make sure to pull the thread tight at the end in order for the white yarn to hide behind the fabric yarn. Now you'll go back into that second stitch or under that second loop. You'll pull your needle through and you'll go in the next stitch while working under the loops. And if you see that white yarn poking out, just pull the thread tight. Now go ahead and sew the zipper through each stitch all the way across. And once you've reached that last stitch at the end of the row, you'll insert the needle into the other side through the first stitch from the back, and you'll sew along the opposite side all the way across. To secure the last stitch, you'll just work a few more stitches through the first and second stitch, work a knot and bind off. And once you're done, this is how your finished bag should look like. Now let's do the final step of adding the straps. We'll take our dark green yarn and work a chain of 30. I'll be making a short strap, but feel free to adjust the strap to your liking. Once you've completed all your chains, we'll chain once more to start the next row. Now into the second chain from the hook, instead of working through the loops, we'll be working through the back bump of the chain. We'll yarn over, insert our hook through the back of the bump. This will give us a nice chain-like finish for our foundation row. We'll yarn over, drop a loop, yarn over, and pull through all loops. This will be our first half double crochet stitch. We'll work half double crochet stitch into each bump all the way across. On your last stitch, you'll chain one and turn your work. For the next row, we'll work regular half double crochets through the top of the stitch. We'll skip that turning chain. We'll go straight into that first stitch and continue to half double crochet all the way across. Once you've completed 2 rows of half double crochet, leave a long tail for seaming up the sides. So I'll take my blunt tapestry needle and I'll weave 3 stitches up. Next, you'll take your bag and you place a stitch marker on the 10th stitch from the bottom of the zipper on each side. Now I'll take my strap and I'll place the bottom end along the side of the bag, keeping the 3rd stitch next to the stitch marker. Next, I'll take my needle and I'll weave it through the post stitch right under the strap. and I'll insert my needle back up through the next stitch. And I'll do this with the remaining stitches. You'll continue to sew the strap to the bag along 3 sides, making sure that each stitch is tight and secure. Once you're back up on the 3rd stitch on the other side, we'll turn our work and we'll work on folding the straps. So we'll fold our straps and we'll insert the needle through the top of both loops like this. So for my last stitch, I'll insert the needle through the next loop on one side and I'll pull it out through the next loop on the other side. Next, I'll insert the needle into the next stitch, but work diagonally back into that first stitch that we worked on the opposite side. So we're working in a Z motion. I'll insert my needle through both loops, and then the next stitch will go in diagonally back into the other side. I'll go back straight up into both loops and then work diagonally through the next loop. You'll repeat the same process all the way across until the 4th last stitch. Once you've completed sewing the straps together, it should look something like this. And here, I've ended it on the 4th last stitch. Now we'll be adding the last bit of the straps onto the bag. Now I'll align the 3rd stitch next to the stitch marker and I'll weave in each stitch through the bag all across on all 3 sides. Once done, we should have a really nice sturdy strap on one side. Now go ahead and make the 2nd strap on the other side. And once you've completed both straps, and that is it, you are done with your Lime handbag or Lime purse. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.